to go back to the question that Mr. Chabot just asked Mr. Bean. I would ask you to comment on whether you think that the smaller businesses, 25 to 30 people, those businesses have been underserved by the SBIR program. Would that be your opinion?
No, I don't. I don't think so. It's certainly a lot of the awards do go to larger programs, but if anything on that front end, and we were talking earlier about how to help companies and get them involved, it is often difficult for small companies to find help and how do you actually write an SBIR that would be acceptable to an agency. And so the number of small companies that would be winning these various awards, I think, would go up if there was more of such help like that available. I think the other issue is that
a mentoring program, kind of
a mentoring program. It could be involved even in the modular program that I discussed earlier, where you could include as a portion of that perhaps sessions on how do you prepare SBIR type responses. The other issue that comes to mind with that is it's a little bit tricky. There's a lot of topics. I don't know the total number of topics that are issued by all of the agencies, but it's huge. The DoD comes out with 3 a year. There's one STTR release. In fact, it came out this week. And there are hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of topics. So one of the issues is trying to find enough reviewers that are actually qualified to review what the submissions are. And when you're looking at phase one, what this is for really high-risk type adventures. In fact, that's why DARPA is there. So if you're submitting something to DARPA, you can assume that it's some technology that is way out there. And trying to find reviewers that are really capable to understand what the submittal is difficult. So part of the strengthening of the program would be maybe tighten up a little bit on how these ultimate proposals are reviewed. And I believe if that was done, you would increase the number of really small businesses that are successful in this program.
Yes, Mr. Farrell.
Yeah, just to add to that, I said previously that about 42% of the Phase 1 awards go to companies with less than 9 people. And if you take it out to companies with less than 24 people in DoD, 70% of the Phase 1 awards go to companies with less than 24.
Thank you. Mr. Boris, your written testimony, you make the point that inclusion of small businesses that receive venture capital investments doesn't come at the expense of those that don't. Can you explain how the Academy conducted this evaluation?
I mentioned also that the program doesn't generate in and of itself a lot of data that would permit one to reach these conclusions. One of the reasons it took the steering committee over approximately 5 years to generate this amount of work was we had to conduct original research. The committee staff and the consultants to the committee painstakingly assembled a wide range of data sets examining all of the issues that comprise these and the other 5 studies that the Academy's produced on this subject. Somewhere in all that data gathering is data that suggests, number one, that
well, I won't ask you to pull it right now.
Please don't, because I'm not exactly sure where I'd find it. I would refer, though, obviously, to it. First, throughout the program's almost 24, 25-year history, majority venture-owned small businesses have participated in the program. In fact, really, if you look at the life cycle of a venture-backed startup, over its life, at some point in time, while it still qualifies as a small business, it's likely to be majority owned by its financial investors. And that's especially true for extraordinarily risky research as that financed by the National Institutes, by Dr. Ball's foundation, by the members of BIO. That literally require often hundreds of millions of dollars ultimately to get a product, and perhaps over that amount these days, and 12 to 15 years to get a product eventually to market through FDA approval. Equally true these days in energy, where hundreds of millions of dollars are required if you're going to actually go into the production of a biofuel, if you're going to build a solar process production facility. So, you know, it's not at all surprising that eventually a majority venture-backed companies are in requirement as they go down new pathways, searching for new products, that eventually they will be majority owned. So they've participated in the program historically, number one. Number two, throughout this extraordinary amount of evidence gathering over 5 years, no evidence whatsoever was turned up that there was any crowding out of other small businesses.
All right, okay, I got you. All right, let me ask a question of Dr. Beal or Mr. Doffler. Well, actually, Mr. Doffler, I think you're the one that spoke of the orphan diseases.
We both did.
Or was that you, Dr. Beal? Okay, all right. Well, Dr. Beal, what are some of these orphan diseases, these rare diseases with 200,000 or less cases? And is that throughout the world?
No, that's
or
throughout the United States.
United States.
Cystic fibrosis is one of those. There are a number of blood disorders that exist that are rare disorders. Some of them don't even have names, quite frankly. They're syndromes. And there's just, you know, I think they estimate that there's about over 2,000 rare disorders that exist. And again, the most important thing is that a few years ago in 1999, when the human genome, the great accomplishment of Francis Collins and others, when we identified the genes, we've really gotten some clues on how to attack some of these other kinds of orphan diseases that exist out there. And the important thing is, you know, unless we start to get an infusion of dollars to those diseases, they're not going to ever be able to cross the finish line to find therapies. And I think the SBIR program is a great way to leverage our federal investment in basic research and finding the gene. I think it's a great opportunity for us to take it and start to translate it to new therapies for these diseases. Because many of those diseases just don't have the resources, like fortunately we do in CF, to make that happen. And so I really do feel that it's very important that the SBIR program really be looked at that. And Mr. Dorfler can probably add to that.
There's a number of genetic diseases that are very, very rare that would never get the attention of any financial investor because it may only affect 100 people. But of course, there's a real passion in what we do. Many of us start these companies surely to make a living, but we're really passionate about developing new medicines to treat diseases that can't be treated any other way. And biotech is uniquely in a position to do things like, you know, HIV, AIDS is a chronic disease now. 20 years ago it wasn't. Arthritis now, people with severe arthritis can be treated with these biologics. I'm one of those patients, frankly. Wouldn't be here today without those kind of drugs. Cardiology drugs. A number of cancers now, it's a chronic disease. It's not a death sentence anymore. And these are the kind of diseases that are being attacked and driven by the biotechnology industry. And again, that spark is critically important.